Another question that is a common question. Have your views on religion changed since you started doing spiritual work? For me, that answer is no. My views on religion started to change when I started to learn about the Ascended Masters and the teachings of the Ascended Masters. And I think it's probably the same thing for my husband. He'll chime in soon and share that. But I was raised Catholic, so I was very much so religious and into religion. And I had a very large role, I'll say, in setting up just our church and taking a very physical approach to making sure that church took place, that we had everything we needed to be, Catholics in a hotel, because we didn't actually have a physical church. But then when we finally got the physical church, I was there helping make sure the altar was set up properly, flower arrangements and teaching and all kinds of things. And that's how deep into religion that I was. But then when I met my husband and our friend Mr. O, things started to change.
Didn't you do protesting also?
But that's not religion.
Of course it's religion. Why did you protest? Isn't it because of your religious belief?
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So that's religion.
So I did a lot of things.
But the point is that the reason you did that because
because of the religion I was raised with.
Right. And you believe your belief was very deep into that.
Yes, it was. But then as I started to learn about the teachings and the Ascended Masters, my perspective changed. And I started to view religion differently at that point. So that happened before doing any spiritual work. And I'm still not doing spiritual work. I'm practicing, but I'm not doing actual spiritual work. My husband is the one who does most of that at this point. I'm still being trained. So, honey, how about if you share your story?
Well, why did you protest? I mean, what was the belief? I asked that question, so you'll see why I asked that question in a moment.
Okay, it was against abortion because I didn't believe that anyone should kill their child, their unborn child.
Okay. Would you go protest now? I know you haven't. What?
No.
So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you go now?
Because I see it differently. It's that person's business. It's their karma. They have to do whatever they have to do with that child. I don't know the circumstances or the situation. I still don't agree with it, but I'm not going to tell someone what to do or try and stop them from walking into an abortion clinic.
Ah, okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that you still don't believe in abortion.
Right.
But it's just the approach that you take now that's different.
Yes.
So what made you change your approach? Where you went from, this is what I believe and you're wrong for doing that, to this is what I believe, but you know what? I don't know your story and it's not my place to go interfere in your business. What caused the difference?
Learning the teachings, learning about what the Ascended Masters have to say about all these different situations. And in regard to abortion, that's that woman's business. Who am I to step in and tell her what to do? I mean, I don't want to create karma by telling her what to do. She has to make that decision for herself. That's her free will, so I should not get involved in anything like that unless if I'm guided to do so.
Or she asks you for
or she asks me for help.
Opinion, right? If that's the case, then that's different, right?
Right.
Because she's using her free will to invite you into her world.
Right. But otherwise, I'm not going to infringe on anyone's free will because that would be possibly creating karma at that point. And I'd rather balance all my karma so I don't have to do this again. So I'm going to stay out of people's business. I used to get into everybody's business. Not anymore.
So now, you asked me to talk? What was?
The question, going back to the question, have your views on religion changed since you started doing spiritual work? And
it goes back to what you said. My view on religion changed even before. See, you said no, but I say yes. My view changed, but my views changed even before we started to engage in spiritual work. Because again, I already had questions. And when I was younger, one of my best friends was one of my teachers in grade school. His name was Lazarus. But he decided to become a priest. I know I talked about this in the past. And he was Catholic, just like everybody else, where I grew up. And he would share what he was studying with me. So I became very curious about becoming a priest myself. Well, oh, I want to be a priest too. And he left to study in the United States, and he would go back home during the summer, but every now and again, when he took a break from seminary school, and he would tell me about his experiences, and to me it was exciting. And he would teach me from the Bible all these different things, and I said, oh, so he got me curious about the Bible itself. But then as I learned more and I grew older, I started to see things that didn't make sense. Like, for example, I remember there was this one time, this one baby, well, not baby, probably about 5 years old, he was run over by a truck.
Ooh.
And his head was crushed.
Ooh.
And I thought, how could God let that happen? This is a kid. What did this kid do? And then this one time, when we were in high school, one of our classmates died in a car accident. And for the first time, I felt vulnerable. I'm like, I could actually die young. So, when you're a teenager, you don't think that way, right? I'm like 12 years old, not a teenager, but 12 years old. You don't think I could die any moment. This classmate of ours died. I'm like, wow. It was like a shock. I said, how could God make that happen? So these type of questions started popping up in my head. And I saw very nice people, but to me, they treated people nicely. They were very respectable people, very respectful, always caring for their neighbors and other kids, including myself. And they had the hardest time with life. Then they had people that were very mean, and they just looked like they took advantage of people all the time. And they were very successful. And I looked at that and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And I talked to different priests about it. I talked to Father Lazarus, but I think he was a priest. And he just said, you don't question God's plans.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I have to, because it doesn't make any sense. And then he told me, well, if you do that, you're not a good Christian. You're not a good Catholic if you do that. And that's when I started to question religion. As in, so you're telling me that if something doesn't make sense and I just want questions answered, and because I'm asking questions, I'm a bad follower of the faith. So I started to question the faith itself. I was still Catholic, but I was kind of
wishy-washy.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. Do I really have to go to church? I don't really believe in what they're saying anymore. Got it? And I believe that's why a lot of people leave churches and go somewhere else.
Right. There aren't very good explanations.
Right. Because you're looking at it from the religious standpoint.
Right.
And that's what I was doing. I kept looking at the Bible for the answers, and I kept going to the priests because they're supposed to have the answers. And what they were telling me didn't make any sense. And then I remember this one time, one of the priests told me, go say you need to go do penance, because the way you're thinking, the what is getting into your head. All of a sudden, because I'm asking questions, I'm being tempted by the dark side, Wow. And I thought, this is nonsense. This does not make sense to me. And so then when I met Mr. O and he introduced to me the teachings, all of a sudden things started to make sense. Questions that I had were being answered. This is why this happens. Like, wow, okay. And then I realized, and then one of the first things I was taught was, religions, they come from this one big teaching. If you look at it, they all have the same thread. Just go and read the different books that exist, and you'll see they're pretty much saying the same thing, just in different languages or a different perspective, but it's pretty much the same message. So I started doing that. I got a copy of the Quran, I got a copy of the Torah, the Kabbalah, and then of course the regular Bible, the Hindu book, what's it called? I forgot the name, but Bhagavad Gita, something like that. I had all of them. I would read them, and sure enough, they were very similar. And that's when I realized, oh, okay, I'm Catholic, but for me to understand how I'm supposed to be a Catholic, I have to understand the real story behind this religion, all these religions. And once I did that, then all of a sudden, I didn't have a problem with the Catholic Church anymore. Because I understood that there's more to it than what I've been told. But because I had a deeper understanding of everything that's in the Bible, or not everything, but most of the things in the Bible, I appreciated what was in the Bible. And then when I would go to church and the priest would say something, I said, okay, I know that that's all you know, but I know there's more to it than that. But I know any question that I had, the teachers could answer, but the church couldn't. Right? So my perspective changed then, that if you focus on a religion, you'll be stuck there. And you will be comparing what you know against somebody else's knowledge or somebody else's religion. And you'll be looking down at somebody else's religion. Not only that, you'll be talking about how what they're doing is wrong, what you're doing is right. And that's because you're looking at what you're doing and what you're being told by your leader, whomever it is, a priest, a pastor, whomever that is, right? Because each one will tell you that theirs is the best, pretty much. However, if you take a spiritual approach, you get to understand that from the spiritual aspect, they're all the same. The Ascended Masters teach us that as long as a religion or a group or a teaching helps people to love each other, to care for each other, and to do it in a peaceful way, it's doing its job. And that's what a religion is for the most part. It keeps people together, they care about each other, so they all hang out together. Everything they do is peaceful with each other. That's a religion. In the background, though, spirituality has to do with they're all the same. And you get to appreciate them from a larger perspective.
Okay.
I think that helps.
I think so. I think it answers the question.
Now, let's take it a step farther. One of my favorite stories, I have a lot of favorite stories from the Bible, right? But one of my favorite stories is the one about Lazarus. You know that story?
Lazarus who died and Jesus brought him back from the dead?
Right. What do you know about Lazarus?
Nothing.
Okay.
I just know he's the one who died.
Well, see.
And days later, Jesus came and said, "Get up, Lazarus," and he walked away.
Well, see, here's why.
That's the ghetto version.
That's not the ghetto version. Well, you'll find this interesting because, see, Lazarus was a wealthy man. Very wealthy. Now, one of the things they teach you in any religion is, or not any religion, but in the Catholic faith is you're not supposed to, like rich people, right? There's something wrong with them. As in, how does it go? Because Jesus said this in the Bible about how it's tougher for a rich person to pass through the eye of a needle. Or it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. What?
I'm waiting for you to tell the story.
Do you know this?
To pass through an eye of a needle. Go ahead. I've heard it, but I don't remember it.
Oh.
It's easier for a camel to pass through an eye of a needle.
To pass through the eye of a needle.
Yep.
Than for a rich man to enter the gates of heaven.
Uh-huh.
You ever heard that?
I've heard it.
So.
But we never look down upon rich people. We always go to them and ask for more money.
No, but what I'm saying
Give us more.
Is a lot of people that are religious will tell you that it's bad to be rich and that money is the root of all evil. They even preach this in
That's what they say. You need to give more to the church.
Exactly. All right? But here's Lazarus. Lazarus was one of Jesus' best friends. But Lazarus was wealthy. Jesus went and ate with Lazarus, spent time with Lazarus. Okay? And Lazarus would sit down with Jesus and he would ask Jesus about the teaching, what Jesus taught and everything. But Lazarus never became a follower of Jesus. Not once did he go with him anywhere. Jesus invited him, but he didn't go.
Okay. And then he died.
Well, he got sick.
He got sick.
It's not like he just laid down and then died, you know. He got sick.
Okay.
And so when he knew he was dying, he told his servants and you know, whomever was around him, said, go find Jesus, let him know that I've died and I want him to come and, you know, raise me from the dead. Pretty much. That's the ghetto version. Now, here's Lazarus, who Jesus has spent time with. Jesus invited him to leave all of whatever he had behind and follow him. Lazarus did not do it. I don't know what Kool-Aid you're drinking, buddy, but I'm not doing that.
I'm not giving up all my will.
Exactly.
I'm not following you.
No way, right? You and I are good buddies. Let's keep it that way. But I'm not following you. Anytime you need anything, you come. But I'm not just take all my wealth and give it away and go follow you. I'm not doing it. Did Jesus get mad at him?
No.
But how many times have people, they come because they're part of a religion, and someone that's close to them decides not to follow what they're doing, all of a sudden they don't want to deal with that person anymore.
It happens a lot.
That's what we call someone being religious.
Got it.
You see, if you notice, Jesus was being spiritual. Jesus didn't say, forget it. You don't want to listen to me. I invited you. You refused to come. I'm not going to deal with you anymore. Jesus didn't do that. Anytime Lazarus invited him to his house, he went. He spent time with him. And when Lazarus died, and they found Jesus and told him, what did Jesus do?
He went over and raised him from the dead.
Jesus didn't say, don't waste my time, okay? Because I invited him to follow me. Now he wants me to go raise him from the dead. I'm not doing it. He just wants to use me now. Nobody's going to use me. Jesus didn't do that because Jesus was not stuck to a religion.
Right.
Jesus operated in the spiritual realm, as in love is universal. It's not conditional.
Right.
It's not, you don't do something with somebody just because they've done something for you. You do something with somebody because it's the right thing to do. It has nothing to do with if you're the same religion, if you believe in what if they believe in what you believe in, if they follow you, if they agree with you. It has nothing to do with that. If that's how you function, if you only want to deal with somebody because they believe in what you believe, they follow what you follow, they agree with what you agree with, that's religion.
Okay.
Okay? Spirituality it's unconditional. That's why when they told Jesus, Lazarus said, please, now he died, and he asked for you to go raise him from the dead. Jesus said, okay. And he went and raised him from the dead. Now, here's the interesting part. So Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. What happened? Well,
That's the end of the story as far as I know.
Uh-huh. Now, before Lazarus died, how many apostles did Jesus have?
I don't know.
You know how many apostles there are? Or disciples?
I've never read the Bible. I don't know how many were with him at that point.
By then, he already had all of them. What's
Well,
the total
there you
amount?
go. He had 12 then.
Okay, there you go. Very good, huh? So he had 12, right? So Jesus comes and raises Lazarus from the dead. Why did he have 13 disciples?
Because he still didn't join them. He still said, thanks, Jesus, but I'm going to stay with my comfort. I'm going to keep my servants.
Get the
Here's some money. Go buy yourself some dinner, Jesus. Here's a tip, too, for saving my life.
He probably threw him a big part of the whole thing. But he didn't become a disciple. If you notice, there are no books written by Lazarus. Not by John, Matthew, Mark.
I wonder if they did partied. What the conversations were like.
But think about it. He sent for Jesus before he died.
He did.
Right?
He
So
did.
he believed that Jesus could raise him from the dead. You know that. So he has the belief, right? Jesus comes, picks him up. Guy's alive. Oh, wow, okay, thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus, you're fantastic. Gracias. And then what happens? He's like, go back to your disciples because I'm fine now, okay? You come visit, but I'm fine. Now, didn't Jesus get mad? Do you think he got upset?
No.
Of course not. He didn't go, well, listen, I came all the way back over here. I brought you back from the dead, okay? You show me some appreciation. No, because that's religion. That attitude is religion. Spirituality has to do with the person, you've helped this individual, you thank God for it, you've done your job, and then you move on to the next person. You're not looking to be thanked. You're not looking to be...
I'm just looking to spread the love.
Everywhere.
Yep, sounds kind of hippie-like, but you spread the love.
Yeah, without the drugs.
Without the drugs. I'll do it on a conscious level. I think that answers the question.
It doesn't?
I think so.
Right? So the
More
point
than-
is that for us, the difference is that yes, our perspective changed from religion, where it's based on just one set of beliefs that an institution has put in place, to more of a universal acceptance of universal love, unconditional love. where you appreciate someone for who that person is, not for what you want that person to be.
Right.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I wanted you to be I don't know, what?
I don't know. What would you want me to be?
I don't know. You're already my wife, so I don't want that one.
All right. So let's do a different example.
Okay, let's say, for example, one of our kids, right?
Okay.
Let's say we wanted them to be, like our daughter, Sammy, right? Mm-hmm. You went and got a violin. We almost bought a violin because you wanted to play a violin.
Oh, she's so good at it. She's a natural.
Well, even before that, I wanted to play violin, before I found that out, right? Because violin is good. And then she's like, I don't want to play the violin. Mm-mm. Now, we could have forced her as her parents to play the violin. Mm-hmm. Instead, we said, okay. Well, we checked, of course, and the guidance was that, no, she shouldn't be playing violin. And then we dropped it. We didn't decide to get mad at her because she didn't want to do something we thought would be great for her. Because after all, she plays the piano anyway, right? And she does a lot of other fantastic things.
Right.
And that's what I mean by the unconditional love. It's not like she decided to drop playing the violin to go do drugs or something like that. It wasn't anything like that. It was just that it wasn't something she enjoyed. Or, for example, you might have a relative that you want it to behave a certain way. Okay, and I'm not talking about you, but anybody. Mm-hmm. Right? Your husband, maybe, right? So maybe in my case, you want me to come home more often, right? Don't even start, right? So instead of coming home like at 9 o'clock at night, you want me to come home now at midnight?
This is a really bad example because it doesn't even happen.
Would you stop? So like midnight, right? Instead of coming home at midnight, it would be nice if I came home, say maybe 10 o'clock. You'd be happy, right? You could come home earlier.
Yes.
And so because that doesn't happen, what do? You're mad at me for that. All of a sudden there's a strain in your relationship. It doesn't work out.
Right.
Well, that's not unconditional love, is it?
No.
Because what you're doing is you want me to behave the way that you expect me to behave.
Okay.
Not the way that I want to behave. Not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm wanting you to follow my will for you and not let you do what you want through your free will.
Bingo. All right?
That was very simply said.
And yes, you do a good job that way. So the point about religion is this, that if you're being forced out of your free will, that's not good for you.
Right.
And a lot of times in religions, that's what happens, right?
They want you to infringe on other people's free will too and tell them how to live their lives.
That's correct.
Uh-huh.
All right. Now, if you agree on your own terms that whatever these values are that are put out there by this specific religion, I don't mind living that way. Then that's fine for you. But don't go and infringe on somebody else's free will and force them to live that way, because maybe that's not what they want to do. And the moment you do that, the moment you start to force someone to do that, you're being religious. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be religious. I'm just showing the difference between being religious and being spiritual.
Okay.
While being spiritual means that we already know on the spiritual level that there's something called universal love, meaning that it's unconditional, meaning you respect somebody's free will. You know what it is that we're all supposed to do based on the universal law, as in treat somebody the way you want to be treated. Really, that's about the only law you have to be concerned about, right? So if that's the case, and you see someone not treating someone the way that you think you'd want to be treated, you could go and talk to that person, right, if you want to. Say, you know what? I don't think that's really nice. Maybe you should treat this person a little differently. But if they don't, it's time for you to back off, right? Because that's their free will. They have to deal with that. That's their karma they have to balance. We are more than happy to step into a situation to help if we're invited. But we won't do that if we're not invited. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
They had the case where Jesus walked into the temple, and the people were there collecting taxes, selling stuff in the temple. I don't know if you remember that story. And then he just turned over the tables and the whole thing, right?
And kick them out, right?
Why do you do that?
Because he was mad that they were using the temple as a place to make money versus to worship God and become a better person.
So, what he did then, was that right?
No.
Exactly. And he was sorry he did it afterwards.
That's right.
All right?
They beat him up for it.
He knew that he shouldn't have done it. But, you know, the human side took over at that point.
Right.
But he knew, he's like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. That was not right. You know, even though what they did wasn't right, but he knew that he shouldn't have judged them. He was judging at that point.
Right.
And it's the same thing with us. We should never judge anybody. Because just like I said when this whole video started, we don't know that person's situation. We don't know their purpose in this lifetime. And for us to go and judge, you know, we're creating some serious karma for ourselves. Right, so I hope that that clears up. I know you answered the question about did our viewpoint change? Yes, it did for both of us.
Right.
But what did it change to? It changed from being religious to being spiritual. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I hope this video has helped you. Please feel free to share it with someone who you think might require hearing this at this point in time. Find us on Facebook at the group called Clearing, Healing, and Guidance. On Instagram and YouTube, it's 190 Vision, and our website is 190vision.com.